Welcome to the Zyuohger review, where I'm going to talk about my second favorite Sentai from the ones I've seen so far. Sadly, another one of these long-form slideshow videos, because I'm not trying to risk another copyright strike. But to stop myself from going on a rant about copyright on YouTube, let's just get to the plot. Zyuohger is the story of Yamato Kazakiri, a zoologist who went to a land called Juland, a place filled with furries, or Juman as they're called. There he meets four Juman: Sailor the shark, Leo the lion, Tusk the elephant, and Amu the tiger. They, alongside Yamato, become the Butsu Sentai, Zyuohger, to protect the human world from Death Galleon. He wants to destroy the Earth just because their leader, Genus, gets a kick out of watching people die and struggle against him. Also, a guy named Masao with depression joins the team after beating them up for 3 episodes straight. Honestly, Zyuohger's plot is pretty simple, but that's not really a bad thing due to the show being really episodic. So having a kind of simple plot is a non-issue, especially due to the greater focus on characters, which, let's get to them. The main 5 Zyuohgers are just super cool in my opinion. I love each and every one of them. There's Yamato, or Zyuohger, the leader of the team, who's relentlessly kind to everyone around him. And there's Sailor, or Zyuohshark. He's the tomboy of the team and has super sensitive hearing due to being a shark. Then there's Leo, or Zyuoh-lion, the resident loud guy of the group. Then there's Tusk, or Zyuoh-elephant. He's basically the smart guy of the team. Last but not least is Amu, or Zyuoh-tiger, who's the more girly girl out of the 2 female members we have on this team. You might have noticed I didn't go into a lot of depth with these descriptions of their characters. That's because the way Zyuohger goes kind of deeper into these characters is a little different than the shows I reviewed before. Because not every episode that focuses on one particular character really tries to, push their arc majorly along. Mainly because the show, rather than having each focus episode with these characters be them moving along their character arc in some way, Zyuohger instead uses the different Monster of the Week scenarios to basically have you see how these characters react in them based on their personalities that have been well established in the first episode. For example, Tusk. While he's also a smart guy, he was also characterized as being a bit of a douche. And while there are moments where he develops in this, such as him befriending Yamato in the second episode of the show after distrusting him in the first, not every single one of these episodes is him necessarily growing into less of a douche. These episodes instead are a little bit more focused on seeing how the Monster of the Week, specifically makes them react due to this personality of being kind of a smart guy and a douchebag. Honestly, a lot of the character development can be seen in a lot more of the episodes where they aren't necessarily, the main focus of them. Since Zyuohger does a pretty good job of making the characters feel important, even episodes where they aren't really the focus. The same goes for the other Zyuohgers other than Tusk. Yamato stays about the same nice guy throughout the series, but in his focus episodes, they tie into a more tragic aspect of his character, such as the fact that all of his powers comes from, shortening a Juman's lifespan, such as Larry, the one who gave him the power of Zyuoh Gorilla, alongside his Zyuoh Eagle powers. There's also the fact that he has obvious parental issues of his mom dying at an early age, and his dad basically abandoning him after his mom died. Or, more accurately, Yamato abandoning his dad after his mom died. It's kinda sad to see, to be honest. Especially since the villain would later on go and kill her in front of him after bringing her back to life. Then there's Leo, who, while also being the loud guy, is shown to be steadfast in his moral beliefs and honest about literally everything, such as not beating up women, or in the episode where the monster had the power to reveal everyone's inner self, and Leo just acted the exact same, which, shows how he's always just speaking his mind, and he's always being himself. There's also Sailor, with her being a tomboy, and at the same time shown to be super homesick over her family now that she's stuck in the human world. There's also Amu, who is the most apparent example of a character where most of her characterizations in these episodes where she's not exactly the focus, and she's great in every one of them. So that's when she motivated Yamato to be able to finally, fix things with his dad, because of the fact that she couldn't imagine having that much animosity at one of your own family members. So yeah, the main 5 Zyuohgers are truly some goats. There's also Larry, the guy who gives Yamato the power of Zyuoh Gorilla, Mario, Yamato's uncle, and Bard, the man who gave Yamato the power of Zyuoh Eagle, and became the technical true 6th member of the Zyuohgers, Zyuoh Bird. They don't get used that much, sadly, until the last 10 episodes, even though they're all pretty decent and fun characters for the screen time they get. But it's time to talk about the true sixth member of the Zyuohgers. Masao Mondo is the best character in Zyuohger. His main character trait is the fact he has a major case of depression, to a point where he literally hates himself and was super lonely before meeting the Zyuohgers, exacerbated even more by the fact that he's not even really a Zyuohger, literally just being an experiment created by the villains Death Galleon, so a lot of his character arc is really just him wanting to improve himself due to the guilt of being made out of killing human, despite his issues with depression, which I think is handled really well. While sometimes him getting into a blubbering mess over one of his depression triggers can get annoying, the show always makes sure to pull it back around in a way that makes me go, I felt that. Such as in the episode where Yamato is trying to get Cube Whale on the Zyuohger's side, and Masao reveals to Sailor that the reason he was so adamant in helping was because of the fact that he wanted to feel more useful to the group despite his problems. Or the episode where he had to hear everyone's inner thoughts and saw how kind of annoyed they were of him, but him deciding to push through with it anyway and try to not react so negatively to their criticism of him. Or how he and Tusk were able to see a little bit of themselves in each other due to them both being a little socially awkward. Like, so much of this hits me in the feels and just makes me want to root for him all the more. While I do understand some people dislike him, much rather having him stay the cool and self-lovable guy he was when he was brainwashed during his first few appearances, I personally think Masao's final character is more interesting than the original characterization, especially since the original characterization would be them retreading old ground for Sentai. So now I guess we have to talk about the worst aspect of the show, and you see enough of my reviews, you know what I'm probably talking about, the villains. Death Galleon starts interesting with having a group of villains who are just trying to destroy the planet because their leader finds it fun, but as individuals they're all kind of lame inside of one of them. Let's start out with Cubel, who is one of the two generals. He was a smart one, and he kind of gets interesting once he decides to try and betray Genus, especially because of the fact that he gets beaten up by Genus so hard that he tries to kill people and begs for his forgiveness, but he's still not that interesting. Then there's Azold, who also, like Cubel, they wait way too late to try to make him interesting. He's a strong guy villain, and he fought against the original Zyuo Whale Cetus, who was the Zyuo Whale before Yamato. Basically, they try to do that, and as a twist in the last, 2 episodes before the finale, which I guess is fine. His design afterwards is cool, and the final fight he has against the Zyuohgers is also cool, but he's still not very interesting. Then there's also Naria, who exists. Last, and certainly least, is the main villain, Genus, who's kind of intimidating, at least, to his cool design, voice, and basically that's it. They don't try to make him interesting till literally the last episode, where they do a twist of him hating himself being the reason why he kills everyone, but that's introduced so late as a plot point that it basically doesn't really matter. And then there's Bong Gray, the actually good villain in Zyuohger, who, brought Yamato's mom back to life to kill him in front of him. So yeah, you know that he's some bad news. The real reason why he's better than everyone else is just because of the fact that he has such a presence that all the other villains just kind of lack in the show. Even though he only shows up in 13 episodes, when all these other villains got at least from episode 1 to try to build an impact. But anyway, the Buchi Sentai Zyuohger is great, and is easily my second favorite of all the Sentai shows I've seen. It's such a fun time with a great and likable cast of characters, alongside some great music and fights. I understand why some may not be as hype about it as I am, but I honestly don't care. See you in another review, where I'm hopefully just as positive.